Okay, two things I want to talk about this week. The first, obviously, is the PlayStation State of Play that just went down. It went down if you're watching this on Wednesday, when I normally put out these little news conversation videos. The State of Play, of course, you've probably had a bunch of videos in your feed breaking down all of the information, all the news and stuff like that. Here, I just want to talk about some of the stuff I liked personally, stuff I found interesting. The first thing is an obvious one. It leaked a little bit earlier that day. It's Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered. Nice. I don't know. That's really good news. I have been on the record a lot, as well as many other people, about this series needing to return. And this isn't much, but I'll take it. Maybe it's a test ground for this series to return, but also it's just for some new people to experience it for the first time, because the Legacy of Kain games are all very unique, but the Soul Reaver ones in particular, there's just a vibe and a mood and an atmosphere to them that we don't see in games today. So I'm excited for people to see that, to see what people have been talking about for years and years. It's been over 20 years or something like that. Interestingly enough, I do want to say I want to put a little bit of cold water on this. The side-by-side comparisons and stuff, it has that remaster thing that happens to a lot of games where it loses a little bit of the something, a little bit of the sauce. Here with Soul Reaver, to me, it looks like color and darkness. I don't know. Every time they wiped to the newer looking graphics, I was like, wait, what? It feels so bright. Way too brightened up. And when you look at Raziel's character model as well, he just looks so clean and perfect compared to the little bit darker, grosser look of the original character. So that to me is a little bit of a downer, a little bit of a bummer. Of course, I can just always go back and play the original games on an emulator or something like that. But yeah, I hope that they don't really lose anything else special in there. I liked how this trailer went down, though. It highlighted the coolest aspects of the game, the characters. It showed Kain. My personal opinion is that I like the Legacy of Kain, like Blood Omen 1 and 2 games a little bit more than I liked Soul Reaver. That's a weird take. I know I technically mostly played them in reverse, so I just have a little bit more nostalgia for, I guess, Kain, but still, regardless, this world, this vibe, everything about this should be at the forefront again, and I'll take just this little bit. I'll take this little glimmer of hope that maybe Square Enix sees that there's something with this property at some point. But it's releasing multi-platform December 10th, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, I did think it was a good idea to start the presentation off with a bang and do a little Astrobot update, to have a little bit of a free DLC coming this fall with new speedrunning levels and a couple of bots. I really like that, because I really like those tense, challenging, sweaty levels from Astrobot. Some of them were fucking goddamn nightmares. Specifically, Splashing Sprint almost made me throw my controller. And then, of course, the final level that you have to do for all of the shapes together, that combined one. Those were just brutal, but fun. And for them to continue that and release new challenging ones, I'm all about it. For free, I'm even more about it. And it looks like they're adding some little abilities and stuff like that. So yeah. Also, side note, the Stellar Blade stuff, a photo mode, obviously there's some potential there. I'm kidding. But the fact that there's going to be a Nier collaboration is interesting and weird, because, a lot of people kind of joke that Stellar Blade cribbed a lot from Nier. Personally, I didn't mind that at all, but what I did like is that they announced that the official soundtrack is now out and available on most streaming platforms and stuff like that. You can get it, and I'm enjoying that. When I was taking notes for this video and working on Game Rank stuff this morning, I had it playing in the background, and it really put me in a good mood. Just good, chill, atmospheric stuff. The music in that game is incredible. I said it when it came out, but yeah, I don't know. Small update. The Alan Wake 2 Lake House DLC. Also really, really good idea. Having a little bit more of the Bureau of Control here, I think, is interesting. It's a good opportunity for more stuff, but I didn't play the last Alan Wake DLC for Alan Wake 2. I love the base game, but I'm still catching up, so slow down. This trailer was really cool, though, for building tension, but also showcasing really good environment design. I love buildings and architecture, stuff like that, and just seeing what was on display here right away, I was like, ooh, this is right up my alley. I've kind of glazed up Remedy at this point. Like I really like what they do. So yeah. The Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, it actually seems like it's going down for people a little better than I expected because it's at a decent price. It seems like it's pretty reasonable for some folks, but I didn't really need it. I didn't really want it. I'd rather resources be spent on something else. I'd rather Guerrilla work and focus their resources on something more interesting. But I said that with The Last of Us Part 1 when that got kind of like remade, re-released. That was an older game though. And I still think that did a couple of nice little additions that I liked. Here with Horizon Zero Dawn, I don't know. What is it? New mocap, new facial stuff, graphical updates. It does technically look better from what I could see, more detail, but like I'm just not really interested. Still, I'm talking about it specifically just because I think it's an interesting move, that this is what they were going for, this is what they were choosing. I just didn't expect that. I see it as just more safe bets, more safe things to get on PlayStation 5 to get people playing, get people revisiting, you know? The Midnight Walk looks something that's right up my alley. It looks like almost like Tim Burton-esque, spooky, weird thing. I'm really curious to see how it goes down being both playable as a PSVR 2 game and a PS5 game. I like that hybrid type of thing. I think that's like a good compromise where some games would just put it out on PSVR to die and not enough people would see it. Here, this could be interesting. I'm really curious to see how they execute this, but the game itself, visually, all of that just looks really cool. It's from the people behind Lost in Random, which I did not play, but this is now on my radar, The Midnight Walk. Hell Is Us looks cool. The more they showed it, the more it looked like a lot of action combat games that we've seen recently. Tight, challenging, deliberate. But I really like the style. I like that it's like Once Human and Death Stranding mixed with possibly maybe like a Souls-like inspired thing. I know people get mad when you immediately compare something to a Souls game, but I don't know. I think the sci-fi aspect is really cool. The main character looks cool as hell. I'm just about that. So I don't know too much about this, other than that it's being developed by Rogue Factor and published by Nacon. So yeah, we'll just wait and see. Also, the PS5 Pro, they took time to highlight that more, show a couple of other games that are involved in like being updated or enhanced for the Pro. And this still didn't really do it for me. It didn't feel exciting. It didn't even feel like they were really excited about it. It felt almost like they were just obligated to show this and talk about this. So I don't know. But the biggest thing for me, and it's kind of like the obvious one for a lot of people, is Sucker Punch's new game, Ghost of Yotei. This is the next Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Tsushima 2, or whatever you want to call it. Ghost of Yotei is 300 years beyond the events of Ghost of Tsushima. So it's 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima, and you are a new ghost, a new legend, this female protagonist. So yeah, not too much to go on here other than that it is a new region. Yotei is a mountain in northern Japan. I don't really know too much about it, but I like a more northern mainland Japan thing that could be interesting. I wonder how big the world's gonna be. That's really a big question, because Ghost of Tsushima, as big as it was, it still felt manageable. And I think part of that was because it was structured around an island, so that works out. But when I did Google Yotei, it is technically like on a landmass separate from mainland Japan, so like we're obviously not gonna have all of Japan in this game, but I'm just curious to see how it goes down, and also how now it's technically in what, the 1600s, 1603. So technology is obviously very different. There's potential for some pretty cool stuff there. The main character, we know their name is Atsu, and they are taking up this mantle of ghost. She's a female samurai, but I am curious to see how they go about this stuff, because Sucker Punch did put out like a blog post talking about how they chose not to continue Jin Sakai's story, but they wanted to continue the ghost ideas, the ghost story, the ghost legend. So is this person a predecessor of Jin in terms of like taking up a mantle of ghost? Is it just her being like, I'm going to be a ghost now? Or is it, I am going to be the ghost that was once started hundreds of years ago by Jin Sakai? Like, is there going to be kind of like a legacy thing going on here with this new character's origin story? That stuff I'm excited to see. It seems like it's the same game director as the first Ghost of Tsushima, so I think that's a good move. I'm really curious to see how they can expand on some open world activities, making side quests more engaging, but also, how this character is going to play differently. We've seen her have an instrument on her back, possibly more connection with animals, like a wolf. So I'm curious to see how they make it interesting. In terms of story and plot and stuff, a lot of people have already extrapolated a lot from the time period and setting in terms of what it can be centered around. There's a lot of other experts out there on like Japanese history. I don't really know anything, but Hokkaido, a lot of people are excited about that. I'm curious to see if they're going to like have different seasons and like changing and snowy and stuff like that. I think that would be a really impressive way to flex their already great world visual design that they had in Ghost of Tsushima. Man, I don't know. I'm kind of like just like blah, 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 vomiting at the mouth with this one because I'm excited. I just want to play it. Ghost of Tsushima was one that I started, and within the first few hours, I was like, this just kind of feels like more formulaic open world stuff. But then about halfway through, I don't know, it all really clicked for me, and how all the activities fed in, and also the story really picked up. And by the end of it, I was absolutely in love. I did kind of want more Jin Sakai. I really like him, and he was someone who I thought was kind of a one-note boring protagonist at first, but by the end of the game, I was in love with the dude and his story and his journey and how it ended. So, like, it's fine ending how it is, but I would have loved to have seen him stumble into some new adventure as this badass, fully formed ghost. Having said that, it is what it is. Games do move on from characters. I'm glad they're keeping a lot of the same ideas. I'm glad that it feels very similar, at least from this first trailer. And again, I'm surprised it's coming in 2025. I expected it to be way further out, but yeah, there we go. Now, the other bit of news I did want to talk about this week, it's funny after just talking about Ghosts of Yotei, but it's the Assassin's Creed Shadows delay. Just before I recorded this video, it's officially delayed. Ubisoft came out and delayed the game. It was releasing November 12th, 2024, not too far, to now February 14th, 2025. That's right, Valentine's Day. The development team working on Assassin's Creed Shadow released a statement announcing the delay, saying, "We realize we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features." Along with that, it's now going to launch on Steam, which is an interesting move. That's a good move. That's a positive move. They've also said that pre-orders are going to be refunded and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. So I know a lot of people will joke and say, haha, they saw the trailer yesterday for Ghosts of Yotei and they moved. Like, obviously that doesn't really make sense or line up, but it is really hard to hear news about Assassin's Creed Shadows after seeing Ghosts of Tsushima or Ghosts of Yotei, because I don't know, man. I have not been into Assassin's Creed Shadows since they've showed it, since I saw gameplay footage behind the scenes at Summer Game Fest. I just think it looks rough. And I think that there's so much pressure on this one because so many people have been begging for an Assassin's Creed game to take place in Japan for so long now. And it just doesn't really seem like it's quite, at least for me personally, it doesn't really quite seem like it's meeting those ambitious goals. When I saw it gameplay wise, it just looked rough. So with a delay happening, I say good. Hopefully it takes time to be more polished and just become a better thing. I know some people are looking at this one out there and they just want it to fail for a variety of reasons, but if they take the time, they delay it, and it gets a little better, a better game out there is always, a better net positive. But November to February isn't enough time to fundamentally change a game. It is time to, obviously time the release better, change marketing, tweak things, do things like this, where now they're putting it on Steam. They're changing some of the season pass bullshit nonsense behind it because they want to put it on its best foot forward. And I think this also comes with Ubisoft also publicly now admitting that Star Wars Outlaws fell below their expectations. I think with that game being such a big deal for them, I guess like financially, they're looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows and being like, whoa, we better slow down and make sure we really get this one right. There's been lots of controversies, lots of things around Assassin's Creed Shadows leading up to this point. But for me, again, I just want it to be a little bit of a better game. The gameplay I've seen just didn't really leave me very impressed. I think part of it is the two protagonists thing, like ambitious, cool, yes. But when I play an Assassin's Creed game, I don't want to play as a heavy brute. Like, I don't want to play as the character swinging a giant mallet. I am very much at every opportunity going to choose Nawe and play as her because that's the Assassin's Creed character. But then after playing something like Ghosts of Tsushima, it's going to be hard not to compare. how the swordplay flows, how the stealth works, stuff like that. You know, you have to put it in your mind, like, be like, no, this is an Assassin's Creed game. But like, Assassin's Creed's identity is so fractured at this point that like, it's just another action adventure stealth game in Japan. So I can't help but compare it to another action adventure stealth open world game in Japan, you know? I'm happy to be proven wrong. I'm going to try it. Of course, I'm going to play the hell out of it to make videos and talk about it. I love this stuff. That's what I do, is take things apart. So yeah, but I just thought the delay itself was an interesting move for Ubisoft. It seems like Ubisoft hasn't had like a gargantuan hit with some of their big mainstream titles like this for a while. Star Wars Outlaws, again, like I said, didn't quite, meet their expectations. But then you've had a lot of their other franchises, like I think Far Cry 6 underperformed for them. I believe, obviously Watch Dogs is now on ice after Watch Dogs Legion. I like this smaller stuff they've been doing. I like what they've been doing with the Prince of Persia spinoff games. I think those are really cool, but I think that they've been really kind of struggling to find that next big thing for them, their next big AAA hit. Nothing has quite been sticking as hard as they want. Also, of course, these corporations have massive, insane expectations for all their properties. So that's a whole other thing. But so we'll have to see how it goes. But now February 2025 is going to be like insanely stacked. If you like to play a lot of new games at once, good luck. So as of right now, it's Assassin's Creed Shadows, of course. They just announced that Like a Dragon pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, that Majima spinoff. Civ 7 is something I'm going to dedicate my life to. As of right now, that's slated for February, as well as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. You're like, Jake, holy shit, that's crazy. February is insane. But then I'll also say, as of right now, it's also going to be Monster Hunter Wilds and Avowed. So it's nuts. Something, probably multiple things, are going to move. I don't know what, but February, as of right now, is looking wild. Those are the two things I wanted to talk about this week, but I do have a bonus thing. I always like to throw in something a little extra. And this week, it's something I didn't get a chance to talk about on the Friday show. It kind of slipped under the radar in the news world. Backyard baseball is back. Yes, backyard baseball from like 1997 or so, late 90s. Is a thing again. They're re-releasing the original Backyard Baseball on Steam in October. The release is October 10th, and this is good. I think this is what the world needs. Just good, wholesome, dumb, silly kids baseball game. When you were a kid growing up, like my age, this game was like the stuff of legends. It was just like you would bring it up and everyone would be like, oh, Backyard Baseball. It's the best. It's awesome. Like when you were a little kid, this thing was the creme de la creme. Dude, Pablo Sanchez, that was the whole thing. It was all the characters. They were all really memorable. They were all diverse, like different kids, boys, girls, like all different shapes and sizes. And it was just so cool. It was just its own fun little quirky baseball game. It was for PC. It was for old crappy PCs, but it was a playable, fun thing, even if you weren't super into baseball, like I wasn't. Backyard Baseball for me was like up there with like eventually stumbling into Doom and also RuneScape in terms of just like things you would try and play at the library computers, but you'd get in trouble. So now it's coming back and it's going to be on Steam. Backyard Baseball on Steam, like that's just like a good PC gaming history thing. It's the people porting it or kind of putting it out here are the people behind WrestleQuest, which was a really cool concept for a game, as well as the Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit game, which I actually thought was the only Five Nights at Freddy's game I found interesting. But it's like it's going to have global leaderboards and stuff. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about Backyard Baseball for once. It's a wild world of video games, and I think with so many negative things and people tearing each other apart in the world of video games and the culture, like Backyard Baseball, just a nice, wholesome, old-fashioned thing. Hopefully they don't pull like a Battlefront 1 and 2 re-release where like the whole online component was like absolutely borked. We'll see how this goes, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. But those are the two things or so that I wanted to talk about this week. So let me know in the comments what you think, how you feel about Backyard Baseball, but of course, the Assassin's Creed Shadows delay and your favorite thing from the PlayStation State of Play. If you could pick two things, let me know. If you can narrow it down to two. Let me know what you think about any of this stuff. Thank you for coming here. I talk about stuff all the time, but on Wednesdays, I dive into two news stories I find particularly interesting. A way to dive deeper than the Friday news show on Game Ranks. But that's it. I've talked enough. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.